Hi, welcome to another video looking at ancient insights. In today's video, I want to address a question that I hear quite often, which is, why does God allow bad things to happen? I don't think the traditional answer that God works in mysterious ways is particularly helpful. So let's take a deeper look at this. The basic message from the Bible and most ancient sources is that the world works exactly in the way God intended, except for human behavior. This is a pretty universal message that I think even agnostics can agree on. Basically, we're the biggest problem. So if we take a deeper look at why God created the world the way it is, then we see that everything seems to be about opposing forces. Isaac Newton discovered gravity in 1665. And if gravity was the only force, then the universe would not exist, because gravity would cause everything to collapse into a singularity. Nothing would happen. But we now know there is an opposing force to gravity. We don't really understand it, so we call it dark energy. Whatever this is, it makes up the vast proportion of the universe as we understand it, and it is an opposing force to gravity. It expands the universe, pushing everything outwards. So what you have is the force of gravity and the opposing force of dark energy, and between the interaction of those two things, everything we know exists. This is the basic idea behind the Chinese philosophy of yin and yang. These two forces are opposing but also complementary. Everything exists in the interplay of these two forces. This is the literal act of creation. The best explanation of this that I've come across is from a British science fantasy writer from the 1960s, a guy called Michael Moorcock. Moorcock wrote about a 20th century man called John Dacre. And John Dacre met this powerful demigod-like being that took him to observe two worlds. In each of these worlds, one of the two opposing forces prevailed. Moorcock called these two forces chaos and law, which can also be interpreted as creativity and stability. The first is the world of chaos, where everything was formless and nothing could take shape and exist. The second world was pure stability. It was a frozen landscape where nothing could ever change. It is in the interaction of these two forces that the world that we know can exist. In short, if God didn't allow bad things to happen, then nothing could happen. Bad things is just our way of describing the forces of creation. Things that don't seem fair, like sickness, old age, death, natural disasters and accidents, are just a natural part of this process. God can't remove them without removing the creative process entirely, and then we have stagnation. But that doesn't mean God left us helpless in the face of this. He didn't. God did in fact give us abilities to deal with these problems, but in our ignorance we have forgotten. This is also the message from the Bible and most ancient sources. In the Gospel of John we read, "Truly, truly I say to you, whoever believes in me will also do the works that I do, and greater works than these will he do." In the Gnostic Gospels, we read in the Apocryphon of James, "Become better than I, make yourselves like the Son of the Holy Spirit." In the Gospel of Thomas, "He who will drink from my mouth will become like me." Meaning, he who takes in the words that Jesus says will become like him. In James we read, "Become better than I, Make yourselves like the Son of the Holy Spirit. The Greek philosophers also address this point. From Plato, we read, "Escape from evil is becoming like God so far as possible, and becoming like God is to become just and pious with understanding. We are not stuck as we are. We have an innate drive to actualize our rational nature and become as godlike as humanly possible." So what is Jesus telling us here? He's telling us we are powerful. We have a divine spark. We are able to heal ourselves and mitigate the forces of creation that might act against us. God did not abandon us to these forces, but in our ignorance and our love and lust for material things, we have forgotten who we are, and so we suffer. I believe that Jesus, in his time here, wasn't showing us godlike abilities, for what use would that be to us? He was showing us the perfect human, what we were supposed to be from the beginning. God intended this divine spark to protect us from the forces of creation. But evil is another matter entirely. Evil is entirely of our own creation, a self-inflicted injury, if you will. If God were to remove evil, then at a stroke, he has made us nothing more than automatons, machines, to carry out a program. We would cease to be human. We would no longer be able to join with God, any more than any machine we have created can combine with you. Evil is something we have to overcome. Evil has its basis in ignorance. How different the world would be if we all became as Christ showed us we could be. If we became like him. This is truly salvation. What atheists don't seem to understand is that when we lose our belief in God, we lose our belief in our divine destiny. Then all we are left with is material things and a short, rather pointless life, and fear and desperation and hopelessness. I don't think they understand that this is one package. They think dismissing a belief in God is a simple thing, a break with tradition, but it is profound. And frankly, we won't survive it. Whenever an atheist declares that we are nothing more than a strange accident, then I believe the devil rejoices. Thank you for watching.